Hey everyone, and welcome to another video where today I am introducing you to my brand new TBR game for 2021. If you're new here, my name is Sam, and for the past few months on my channel I've been doing a monthly TBR game to help me pick books to read, because I found that there are so many books out there that I want to read, and whenever I would finish a book and I would have to pick another book to read, I would really struggle to narrow it down. And so having a monthly TBR game just helps me to have a little bit more structure with my reading. So my new TBR game for 2021 is based on my favourite board game, which is Cluedo, or I think it's called Clue in the US. And it's a very loose interpretation of the game because I wanted to try and make it as simple as possible. Like, I didn't want it to be too complicated to follow. I did do a quick search on YouTube before I started putting this idea together because I wanted to see if there were any other TBR Cluedo games out there. And I think a few other booktubers have done TBR Cluedo in the past, but from what I watched, they're very different to my game that I've come up with. And so, yeah, I don't even know why I'm calling this TBR Cluedo, because it's not even Cluedo. Like, I might as well just not call it that, but I'm calling it because it's my favourite board game and it's kind of loosely based on it. And I'm going to insert a clip here of me explaining the rules, so hopefully it will make a little bit more sense. Okay, so I'm really hoping that this board makes sense, and you can see that I've kind of based it on an actual Cluedo board. So each of these rooms around the edge basically represents a different genre that I read. So young adult, fantasy, romance, contemporary, thriller, and my choice. My choice, if it comes up, basically means that I can pick any genre, not just the ones that are on this board, because there are a few other genres that I read, like historical fiction and non-fiction, that I'll still want to read occasionally, and so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't limiting myself. At the start of the game, I'll allocate each of the rooms a number counter, which represents the numbers on the dice. I'll then pick one of these cards from the centre, and that will give me a prompt to go with that book. This is just an example of one of the cards, so you can see the kind of prompts that might come up. So those are the rules that I've come up with so far. I may adapt and change things as I go along, but for my January TBR, I'm going to be picking 5 books because I typically read anything between 8 to 12 books per month, but I like to have a little bit more flexibility so that if I have 5 books on this TBR, then I can still read books outside of that and I'm not restricted. But anyway, let's play round 1 and hopefully it'll all make sense if it hasn't already. Okay, so the first roll, we have 6, which is my choice, which is quite cool. And the prompt is library book. So first up I rolled a 6, which gave me my choice, and the prompt that I got to go with it was library book, which is pretty perfect because I actually popped into my local library last week or the week before and picked up a load of books that I really want to read soon. But the book that I've decided to pick for this prompt is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, which I am really excited to finally read this. It's been on my TBR for quite a while because Leigh Bardugo is one of my favourite authors, or I think she's one of my favourite authors. I really love the Grishaverse, or the Grishaverse, which is by her, but I know that this is very different to that. I don't even know how I would describe this book. Is it dark academia? I don't know if I've ever actually read a book that's described as dark academia before, but I have heard that this is very dark and that it does have quite a few trigger warnings, so just something to bear in mind if you are thinking of reading this too. All I really know about this book is that it follows a character called Alex Stern, who is recruited to go to Yale University in the US, and I think she has to investigate these different societies at this university that use different types of magic. And I think there's also some kind of murder mystery. I don't know. I don't really want to know any more than that because I really love dark mysteries, but I like going into them not knowing anything. And so, yeah, really looking forward to reading this in January. Okay, so here we go with roll number 2. For my second roll, I got a 4, which gave me the genre contemporary, and the prompt to go with it was Twitter poll. And so for this, I went back through my Kindle and found 4 contemporary fiction books that I really want to read and that I've had for probably nearly a year, if not more than a year. And I put a poll on my Twitter and asked people to vote for what book they would like to see me read. And the book that got the most votes was The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson, which I don't actually know a lot about this book. I think I picked it up in a Kindle 99p deal ages ago because I tend to do that. If I see a book that I've heard a little bit about and it's 99p on Kindle and I think that it's something that I will want to read eventually, then I'll pick it up there and then because I'll think, well, I'll get around to reading it eventually, and 99p is a bargain. But yeah, I don't actually know a lot about what this book is about. I think it's about a guy who comes up with a test to find the perfect partner, but then he meets a woman called Rosie who is the complete opposite of what he's looking for, and I'm guessing that they fall for each other. I'm pretty sure that this this is a romance. But yeah, really looking forward to reading this because I have heard that it's really funny, and with the state of the world right now, you can never have too many laughs. Okay, so third roll is 5, which is thriller, and the prompt is last bought. For my next roll, I got a 5, which gave me the genre thriller, and the prompt to go with it was to read the last book that I bought. And I had to scroll way back on my Kindle to find the last thriller that I bought that I haven't read yet, because most of the thrillers that I've bought recently I have already read, but I did eventually come across 50/50 by Steve Kavanagh, which I haven't read yet. And this is part of the Eddie Flynn series that follows a con artist turned lawyer. And the last book that I read, 13, I finished it within a day. It was one of those books where I stayed up until 4 in the morning to finish it because I was so addicted. And I'm really looking forward to reading this next instalment in that series. I'm trying to remember the plot of this book, and I think it's about 2 sisters who have both been accused of killing their dad, but they've accused each other, and so no one knows which one of them is responsible. And I think that Eddie Flynn is representing one of the sisters in court, and so it's a really fun legal drama, this series is a really fun crime legal thriller series. This is another book that is a 5-star prediction for me because of how much I love 13, and so if it's even half as good as that, then I'm sure that I'm going to love it and it's going to become a new favourite. Here we go again. Next up, I rolled a 1, which gave me the genre young adult, and the prompt to go with it was to read a book with a beautiful cover. And I think that this book counts because it's definitely a beautiful cover, and I'm pretty sure that this series is a young adult fantasy series, so young adult, beautiful cover, I'm pretty sure it counts. So this book is Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor, which is the second book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. I was meant to read this in December for the Do Sab Along, which is a Daughter of Smoke and Bone read along that's being hosted by Maddie from Book Browsing Blog, but I didn't get round to it. I'm pretty sure that the live show for this is on the 2nd of January, and so I don't know if I'm going to have time to catch up before then, but even if I don't, then I'm hoping that I'll be able to read this and the third book in time for the third live show, which I'm assuming is going to be at some point in February. So the first book in this series follows a girl called Karu who lives in Prague, and she's an art student, but she almost has this double life because she was raised by this creature and she now works as his messenger, but he runs a shop which has something to do with teeth in another world. And to get to this world, you have to go through a door, and then suddenly these handprints start appearing on these doors around the world, and I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this. Throughout the first book, you start to learn more about Karu because she's never really known where she's came from and she's never known much about her past. But gradually throughout the course of the book you learn some things, and it's all about her discovering who she is. And I'm guessing that this second book follows on from the end of the last book, which was really intriguing, and so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what direction this story goes in next. Okay, so the final roll is 2, which is fantasy, and the prompt is mood read. For the final round, I rolled a 2, which gave me the genre fantasy, and the prompt to go with it was mood read. And I might change my mind on this, which I think I can do because this is a mood read. But right now, I am really in the mood to read another fantasy book that I got out of the library, and that is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I'm really struggling to remember what this book is about because I think whenever I've seen people talking about this book, they talk more about the writing rather than the plot. But from what I gather, it's about a boy called Zachary who comes across this library book that has details about his own life within the pages, and he ends up going on this quest. So hopefully I enjoy this. I'm sure I've heard someone describe this as a book within a book, and I love books that are within books. So yeah, really looking forward and really intrigued to see what this book is actually about. Okay, so those are the 5 books that I'm planning to read in January, and because this is Cluedo and the whole point to Cluedo is that you're meant to solve a mystery, I think what I'm going to do is make a prediction as to which of these 5 books I think I'm going to enjoy the most and that I think I'm going to give the highest rating to. Then I thought it would be fun to look back at the end of the month and see if I was right. And this is really hard because some of these books have been on my TBR for quite a while, but the book that I'm going to go for is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo because I did include this in my 5-star predictions video, and I am pretty sure that I'm going to love it. I'm going to be really upset if I end up hating this because I do feel like all of the reviews that I've seen have been really hit or miss. So yeah, hopefully I enjoy this, and if you do want to hear my thoughts on this, I don't know whether to do a dedicated reading vlog for this or whether to just include it in my January wrap up. So let me know in the comments which one you would prefer, and let me know if you've read this and what you thought of this, because this is probably the one book that I am really nervous to read. But yeah, I guess that brings me to the end of the video. So thanks for watching if you've made it this far. I had so much fun filming this video and putting this whole idea together, and I did just want to quickly mention that there are so many incredible TBR games out there on BookTube that have definitely helped to inspire this game. So if you're not following them already, I'll leave links to those in the description down below. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.